What up, it's your boy Pat, that varsity geek, and I'm here today with another video for you guys. All you sports fans, I know there's not a lot going on right now, but luckily we have one of the moments that we all look forward to coming up, the NFL Draft. It's an opportunity for our teams to pick up some new players, some young fresh talent, and hopefully get better and take a step up from what they did last year. I'm out here rocking it for my Falcons, hoping that we do better than last year. Some injury luck, kind of derailed us, but it'll be our year this year, hopefully. Now, because of what's going on, in the world, the draft is going to be held virtually this year. Not going to be in person. They're not going to have it in Vegas like it was supposed to be. Everything's going to be handled virtually. So all of the teams will be in-house, making their decisions, making their trades, doing all that stuff. Roger Goodell will be at his home announcing the picks, and things are going to go like that. I don't know how it's really going to play out. I imagine that they're still going to try to keep a really high video production quality. They're trying to say that the show really is going to still be going on well, but I don't know how it's played out. It's never been like this before since I've been around, so I'm interested to see how it plays out. The NFL Draft will be starting on Thursday, April 23rd, and be going all the way through Saturday, April 25th. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and it'll be broadcast on ESPN, ABC, and the NFL Network. But coming into the draft, we really have a lot of interesting topics. The biggest of which is the QB battle. Now, if you look at all the mock drafts, there are really 4 QBs who stand out and are supposed to go in the first round. You've got Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love. Each one of these players has some positives and some negatives. It'll make it interesting to see really who gets picked up and where they get picked up and by what team they get drafted to. So let's just kind of go into a deep dive of each one of these players. When you talk about Joe Burrow, he arguably had the best college season ever played as a quarterback. He was throwing the ball all over the place, put up really good stats for touchdown to interception ratio, had a bunch of yards, a bunch of touchdowns, helping his wide receivers get open, all that kind of stuff. So it's hard to argue with the production that he had on the field this year, especially considering that they won a national championship. He's got a good arm, decent athleticism, he reads the defense really well, he moves well in the pocket, he's got a little bit of wiggle so that he can get out of situations. All things that you would look for in a quarterback. But one of the biggest questions that you have to ask is, why did it take him so long to pop? He played at LSU for 2 years. His first year was just meh, and his second year is where he took off. But you have to wonder, is that a product of the system? Getting Joe Brady, who used to work for the Saints, paying attention to the Saints, that they always have a great offense. And so, is he just a product of the system? Because he didn't get the start at Ohio State and he ended up transferring to LSU. That's the big question that everybody has, and so that's really a concern going into the draft. Now let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Tua played for Alabama, one of the best schools in college football history, under Nick Saban, who's probably going to go down as the best college football coach. He came in at halftime during a national championship game, his rookie year, and led Alabama to a comeback to win that national championship. Ever since that, he's made plays, he's led Alabama to win, and he's really been a great player. He probably has as good of a college resume as any player in this draft, and he really contributes to wins for his team. But you have confidence that when Tua's on the field that you guys are going to have a chance to win. And according to a lot of people, he's the best quarterback prospect in this draft when you look at everything as a whole. And so a lot of people are really excited to kind of figure out what Tua's about and try to get him in their camp. Now the big question for Tua is his injury history. He had the most recent injury, which was his hip being dislocated. It's an injury you don't really see in professional football. Usually something that you see more in car crashes, so that's a concern. He also had ankle injuries in college and had to have surgery on his ankle to really tighten everything up in there. So the big question is he going to be 100% when you bring him to your team? Is he going to be the Tua Tagovailoa that we saw at Alabama? Or is he going to be injury riddled and really not be able to make an impact on your team? And with everything going on, that's an even bigger concern. It's really hard for you to get an accurate estimate on what he looks like because you can only see videos of him. You can't bring him in, you can't work him out for yourself. You just have to take his word for it and the doctor's word for it and hope that it works out. Because your doctors can't look at him because of everything that's going on. People can't see each other. Alright, moving on, let's talk Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is really your prototypical quarterback and what you're looking for. He's got the height, he's got a cannon for an arm, he's mobile enough to really get in and out of the pocket and keep players alive, and he's got enough speed and enough wiggle to really make things happen when the play breaks down. And positively for him, his last 2 games were really his best games. In the Senior Bowl and in the Rose Bowl, He had really great performances. He was MVP of both of them, I believe, and that really helped his draft stock rise. He has all the tangibles that you should be looking for in a quarterback. And so a lot of people have him really high on their draft boards as a quarterback prospect. His big question is the consistency with which he plays and if he shows up for the big game. The concern is that in a lot of his games in college, he really didn't show up in big ways to make big plays and win the game. The question is that because of his play or is it because of where he played at? Because he's at Oregon, they don't have a lot of top-tier prospects at the receiver and the skill position, who's probably not throwing it to the best athletes in the world. Not the likes of the receivers that you would have at Alabama and LSU, where Tua and Joe Burrow played. So that's really a question that people are looking at. Does he have that it factor that's going to take him over the top from just a physical prospect to really being a great player in the NFL? And then lastly, we have Jordan Love. Now, from a pure athleticism standpoint, he's at the top of his draft. He's got the speed, he's got the arm, he's kind of like a Lamar Jackson-esque kind of player. Probably not as athletic as Lamar is because Lamar's a freak, but he's definitely the most athletic quarterback in the draft. He's been compared a lot to Patrick Mahomes and how Mahomes played when he was in college, so there's a lot of excitement going around for Love's potential at the next level. The big issue here is that he's incredibly raw. He's very talented, there's no question about it, but he's raw. His mechanics with his footwork and his arm angles and his throwing motion, that all needs work. So it's probably not going to be a situation where he comes in and immediately is able to start and propel your team to a high level. So people are concerned about all those things as well as his ability to read defenses. But with the Patrick Mahomes comparisons come those sorts of things. People are looking at it and saying, if we can develop him the same way that Patrick Mahomes was developed by Andy Reid, we're going to knock it out of the park and we're going to be able to really make some noise in the league for years to come. But that brings up the question. Do you have the organization to really bring him up and fix those mechanics? Or do you have the time to wait? Or maybe you're high up in the draft and one of the other quarterbacks that we just talked about are available. What do you do then? Do you go for the raw prospect who has a lot of talent but is really hit or miss, or go for one of the more safe options? So there are a lot of questions to be answered this year about quarterbacks in the draft. And aside from that, who else is going to go in the top 10? Not all of these teams need quarterbacks. So all of these players are not going to go 1, 2, 3. And the question is, who's going to get the quarterback and who's going to get some of the other players that they need? Like, who are the Bengals going to pick? Are they going to pick Joe Burrow? Are they going to pick Tua? Are they going to pick Justin Herbert? Or are they going to go out of left field and pick somebody else like Chase Young, who is probably the best player in this draft, but the Bengals have a lot of needs, and so they're probably going to pick a quarterback because they don't really have one right now. And then you have Washington coming up at number 2. Do they take one of these quarterbacks that's available, or do they stick with Dwayne Haskins? They didn't have a great season last year. Dwayne Haskins didn't play great last year. Do they still believe in him enough to say, this is our guy, we're going to stick with him? Or are they going to bring somebody else in and roll the dice and say, look, if Dwayne has a good year, we can trade him and recoup our draft capital. If he has a bad year, we can cut him and we have our quarterback for the future. And then you've got other teams like Detroit, like Miami, like the Chargers. They need quarterbacks, but they also have other position needs. Is it going to be a situation where a team like, let's say, the Chargers are okay with Tyrod Taylor starting and they pick up somebody else who could help them? Or are they going to pick up a quarterback, use Tyrod to groom him, and hope that he pans out? And then as always, there's draft day trades. There's always picks moving around in the NFL draft. People moving up to get players that they want, like Julio. Teams moving down to get more picks because there's nobody that they really need at that position, or the best available player is not somebody that they're looking at, so they want to be able to have more bites at the apple later on. There's a team like the Colts or the Raiders, whose quarterback position is kind of in flux right now, with Derek Carr for the Raiders and Jacoby Brissett for the Colts. Are they set with their quarterbacks, or do they try to move up in the draft to pick one of these new guys? Those are questions that we'll have to wait till tomorrow to get the answers to, but it should be interesting to see how they do it. Chop it up with me in the comments. Who's your favorite team? Who do you want your team to pick? Who do you think is going to be the number 1 overall pick? Do you think it's going to be a quarterback or a defensive end or somebody else? Who do you think is going to make a huge blockbuster draft day trade? Who do you think is going to be the steal of the draft? I've been Pat, that Varsity Geek. Hope that you have a blessed day, and I hope your team makes some good picks.